Thank you. I was 8 years old when I realized that my life was probably going to turn out a little differently than the rest of my friends. I remember that day as it was burned into my brain. It was pouring rain, and my mother was late picking me up for the third time that week. By the time she got there, I was drenched. She dried my hair with whatever she could find on the floor, and we didn't know what to say to each other. She looked really tired, like the weight of the world was crushing her tiny little body. She was doing her best, and she was a good mama. But we also both knew that things weren't okay, because the dinner table was empty more frequently, the fights in the house were getting louder and more physical, and I was becoming more invisible to the world. By the time anyone bothered to notice, I dropped out of high school at age 16. Back where I'm from, for a girl like me, my story would have ended there. And it would take me trekking across 3 different continents and more than 20,000 miles and countless falling down and getting back up to finally finish high school at age 20. I would then go on to finish college and even got a graduate degree in social work. And my path will lead me to become a youth worker in a city that I now call home. I've shared my story with many people before, and very often I would hear that my story is about my resilience. And I've had a lot of time to kind of reflect on that, and sure, I mean, those were some really tough days, and it took a lot to get to where I am. But through my work and through my journey, I've also come to realize that my story is actually about the impact of a concept called patient capital. And here's why. The definition of patient capital is to invest long-term with proportional time and resources to the scale of the issue that you're faced with. So, in other words, the bigger or the messier the issue you're trying to solve, most likely it will take longer and it will take more resources to get to the results that you want. Another unique thing about patient capital that is different from other investment strategy is that investors of patient capital have different expectations of how long it would take to see the results that they want to see. And they're actually more tolerant of the length of time that it would take. It's not a new concept, you see. In fact, patient capital is how some individuals and institutions have been able to build generational wealth in this country. It's also a tool that is commonly used when addressing some of our most pressing challenges that we face as humanity. Years of research and billions of dollars have been put into finding a cure for cancer. Well, we're not there yet, we're well underway. Our Charles River, after decades of very expensive mitigation, finally achieved the water grade quality of B+. And let's be honest, most of us still probably wouldn't swim in it or eat anything that comes out of it. I'm one of them. So my question is, if we know patient capital works, and we've been using it, why haven't we unapologetically invest the proportionate resources and time into the people in the communities that we have systematically divested from for generations? Or have we just decided that some causes, people, and communities are more deserving of resources than others. As a youth worker, I think a lot about the role of patient capital in addressing the achievement gap and the opportunity gaps for the young people of our city. Over the last 25 years, I've had the honor of walking alongside thousands of young people who feel what I once felt, invisible to the world. They bear the burden of all of our system's shortcomings. And because of that, I've also come across a lot of people who come with the innovative solutions that promises to deliver the results of helping our young people achieve their greatest potential. But unfortunately, in the 25 years I've been doing this, only a handful of those solutions have delivered on those promises. I've come to realize that it's not because there's a shortage of people with big ideas. It's because very few of those ideas have the right amount of resources behind it to make it happen. So what we do is we go in front of our young people who are already discouraged, and we present them with the Holy Grail, the one that's gonna solve all of their problems. And at the same time, we set a countdown clock of how much time and resources we're willing to give. And when that clock runs out, we throw our hands up and said, well, that didn't work. Or that costs too much and it's not sustainable. Or worse, it's the one that I hear and it really fires me up, that maybe it's because the young people didn't work hard enough or that they weren't resilient enough. So all the inequities in the world have had centuries to lay roots in our daily lives. And yet all of the solutions that we've come up with are only promise a fraction of the resources. That, I don't know, that math is not mathing, so it doesn't make sense to me at all. The silver lining in all of this is that now that we're all tuned to it, we can actually do something about this. Every single person in this room can now be an advocate for patient capital. In fact, there's a great example right here in Roxbury, just a 10-minute walk from here. The organization that I work for is applying the concept of patient capital to transform the traditional model of youth mentoring. We all know that youth mentoring is a powerful tool in helping young people become and manifest into the powerful versions of themselves. So instead of a typical average 6 to 12 months of mentoring relationship, we promise every child in our program a mentor for 12 and a half years, from kindergarten all the way through high school graduation, no matter what. I know. And instead of utilizing volunteer mentors with very high turnover rate and unfortunately limited capacity to be a consistent champions, we hire full-time salary professional mentors who are trained to be the consistent champion in every facet of the child's life. And instead of treating our children as if they live in isolation or as if their families and communities don't matter, we actively invest and acknowledge the importance of the role that their caregivers, their siblings, and their communities play in their well-being. We invest in them and move everyone in the same direction. We've been doing this for the last 19 years, and what we have come to learn is that the innate resilience of our young people, combined with patient capital, is a powerful thing. Like the girl who couldn't stand to be in the classroom for more than 5 minutes at a time, can grow up to work for a multinational company and be the first person in her family to own her home. Or the boy that was threatened with multiple school expulsions will graduate high school with his mentor by his side and fulfill his lifelong dream of becoming a construction worker and just steps away from becoming his own boss. That's right. Stories after stories of the young people that we have invested in tells us one thing. We are the most resilient when we are supported with the right resources. I think back to my own personal journey. There were many, many moments where my story would have turned out probably a little differently. The difference was there were a group of people that I met along the way that decided that I was deserving and I was worth to invest in. They offered me safety, like a couch to sleep on when I didn't have anywhere to go, or food to eat when I simply have gone way too many days without a good meal. And together they connected me with more champions in my life who will form the community that unconditionally loved me and make sure that I don't fall through the cracks. But more importantly, they gave me time. They knew it was going to take me longer to get to where I needed to go. And they were committed no matter what. They weren't going anywhere until I got there. The young people in the communities of our city are immensely gifted, and they have big ambitions and big dreams. Those ambitions and those dreams are deserving of resources as big as their gifts. Because now we know resilience without patient capital is not enough. So next time, when you're presented with a big idea, make sure to push for the right support and give it the time that it needs so it can deliver on the promise. Let's make patient capital one of the main tools that we use to overcoming the inequities of our world. Thank you.